In this video, we're going to discuss how to calculate the mean and variance for a binomial random variable. We can calculate the mean and variance for almost any type of distribution, and here we're talking about still the discrete random variables, and in particular the binomial. And recall that for mean, we're going to use mu sub x because we're talking about the discrete variables. For the variance, we will have sigma sub x squared, and for the the standard deviation, we will have sigma sub x. For the mean, it is strictly the number of trials, n, times the probability of your success. That's all that the mean is. Now for your variance, it is going to be the number of trials times the probability of a success times the probability of a failure. So it's both of your probabilities times the number of trials. And remember that for standard deviation, it's strictly the square root of that, so n times p times 1 minus p is your standard deviation. So these are probably some of the simpler mean and variance and standard deviation formulas that you'll see. So let's look at an example. And this example is, according to CTIA, 25% of all U.S. households are wireless-only households. In a simple random sample of 300 households, determine the mean and standard deviation number of wireless-only households. So we have to figure out our n, our p, and our 1 minus p. So our n is our number of trials. So our n is going to be our 300 households. That's how many our random sample is. Our p is our probability of a success. So we're wanting to look at the number of wireless-only households. So our success is the probability of being wireless-only, which in this case is 25% or 0.25. Now the probability of a failure, which is 1 minus p, is going to be the opposite of that. So if 25% are wireless only, what's the percentage of not being wireless only? And that would be 0.75, 75% are not wireless only households. So now then, to find our mean, our mu sub x, that is equal to our n times our p, our number of trials times the probability of a success. So that's going to be 300 times 0.25. And if I take 300 times 0.25, that's going to give me that on average 75 households are wireless only out of this sample of 300. Now, in order to find standard deviation, I first must find the variance, which is going to be our number of trials, times the probability of its success, times the probability of a failure. So that's going to be 300 times 0.25 times 0.75. So the variance is going to be 56.25. So the standard deviation is just going to be the square root of that, 56.25. So the standard deviation will be 7.5. So we expect that in a random sample of 300 households, 75 will be wireless only, with a standard deviation of 7.5. So work on finding the mean, variance, and standard deviations of binomial distributions, and let me know if you have any questions.